Stuart, I've got a question. How do you successfully be in this world without being emotionally involved with the chaos that we have today in the world?
Uh, Look, I talked about this ad infinitum, Um, I don't know what to add new to this. I try to make it very clear how essential it is that we have built inside ourselves a system that can enable us to live in the world, to be free of the world at exactly the same time. That's what these classes are about. That's what the meditation is for. It's teaching one how to transform resistance, suffering, difficulty, neurosis, whatever it is, depression, into a chakra system that's strong enough to do exactly what what you asked. It takes time. It takes a lot of work. And I don't know another way to do it, because I would say 9/10 of the population of this planet are swept away in the drama, the maya, the illusion of life. And then you have time, you have age, time is like an enemy if you don't do something to develop your inner life. People live paralyzed by getting older, by death, by all of that kind of stuff. And so time itself is something that can free you if you use it consciously by developing an inner life, or it's something that paralyzes people and cripples them. So I don't know what else to say about this. Tony was talking to me earlier, said that I have the patience, unbelievable, because everybody asks almost the same kind of question. How do I do that, And there's it's not like, hey, you want to have light in a room, you flick a switch. It doesn't work that way. You want to have light in your consciousness, then you got to develop an inner life that enables you to do it. So when you walk away from this meditation, you take something with you. You don't just, oh, well, finished, I'll leave it on Zoom, now next, my whatever, is upset with me and I got to, whatever it is, you take this with you. Don't leave it here. You take the training with you and you build on it in every meditation class that you attend. You build on it every time you sit down at home and you meditate. And over time, it's amazing how this will transform you. And then you don't ask questions, how do you do it? You've done it. You become a living example of how what I'm talking about is possible to attain in this life.
The reason why I'm asking that question is because sometimes I feel I don't get a lot from the meditation, but then again, I just need the perspective of long-term practice. So thank you. It's very clear.
I hope it's clear. You get from this meditation what you're willing to invest in it. The depth that you're willing to go into yourself will make it possible for you to get more and more out of this. So when the class at the end, you didn't, all right, man, I really got to work on me. I have to go deeper. Either that or you got to find something else to do that will take you deeper. What I do doesn't work for everybody. But if it works for you, you got to do it in a very profound way. And I think it works for you, Oprah. I see you in every class. You're here. You contribute. You do whatever you possible for you to do to make sure that I sustain these classes. Now, don't leave behind the intensity of this energy. Take it with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, can you talk about the ways of keeping the energy, maintaining it, taking it with? Can you elaborate on that process or
Yes.
that idea?
Yes, I mean, this is not like some schematic in a book on metaphysics, where they outline the cosmos and this, and it's all heady stuff. And, it's not like that. It's a gradual development of an inner life, having patience with your limitations, and knowing that if you continue to work on yourself, your inner life will develop. And then in time, you begin to, you just live this way. I mean, I can't even remember when these things even happened to me. All I know is one day I was living this way. It was an outgrowth of a very serious and still very serious depth of work that I do on myself that enables the chakra system to develop, and to a level that I can live that way. I can take it with me. I don't throw it away on nonsense. I don't throw it away because of somebody else's tension, somebody else doesn't like me, I don't throw it away because there's financial problems and, because I know the only way of dealing with those things is through the strength that I build inside myself. And more than anything else, I will never take it for granted. I mean, look, I come to more of these classes than anyone that I know. There's got to be a reason for that. I need to grow. So God has provided me with this Zoom thing to do. And I am so grateful that this has taken place because it really gives me the opportunity to work in enormous depth on myself. And then I don't throw it away. There's always problems. You think I live without problems? There are problems all the time. Family problems, money problems, whatever. There's always something. But none of it really takes my energy from me. I just deal with them as they come up. Big thing is never take it for granted, because as soon as you start taking this for granted, it'll just vanish from your life. I mean that. And then I promise you, everyone, I don't care how deep you go in these classes and how you will be tested. You could get into a taxi cab and the taxi cab driver is a lunatic. And you suddenly lose it, start screaming at him, I mean, God knows what things the universe sends into our lives. COVID, for God's sake. There's a place, people have to walk around with masks. Everybody looks like the Lone Ranger, It's ridiculous. You think, I don't like wearing a mask. I never got vaccinated in my life until all this stuff started happening. But I'm not going to let that interfere with my spiritual life. I will do whatever I have to do to sustain what I'm doing. I mean, I can't remember a couple of years that were more difficult than the last few years. A couple of years where you don't even want to go out of your apartment sometimes, you know, because you come back with some stupid pandemic disease. That's enough to get anybody. People are angry. They're in Canada. I was reading, you know, Canada, here, there, everybody is screaming, you know, it's enough already. And it is enough already. But I'm not going to scream about it. I'm just going to do what I have to do in order to sustain the work that takes place in every one of these meditations without getting angry at the world. Doesn't solve anything. And there's too much, if you pardon my Bronxese, there's just too much bullshit in the world. Mostly because people have no consciousness, they have no inner development. They're trying to tell other people how to live and fix their lives. And meanwhile, they're all crazy inside. They themselves are completely neurotic inside. Meanwhile, everybody knows what's right for everybody else. Nobody ever takes a good look in the mirror and says, what do I have to do to fix me? Because that really is the solution. So just continue to grow, Wendy, the way you're growing. You know, really, you're doing very well. And just, you know, when you leave, take this with you. Don't leave it behind. Don't get upset if dumb things happen that get you, you know, ordinarily would get people, you know, all right, it'll pass. Everything, you know, this too shall pass. Everything passes.
I heard what you said. Don't throw it away. I thought that was very poignant. That was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's too hard to get. I mean it. You know what a treasure it is to be sitting in these classes with the energy so strong and powerful to take one deep. It's too hard to get. It took me 9 years to find Rudy. I mean, there were 9 miserable years from 16 to 25 years old, running around the world looking for somebody who could teach me. And there he was in my hometown. And what's totally amazing is I walked past his store 1,000 times. I never went in. And then one day I walked in, my whole life changed. I wasn't ready. 1,001 time I was ready. I've been through enough bullshit to say, Stuart, you got to start listening to somebody who has wisdom.
Stuart, I have a question. When you're focusing on the one point, do you feel like it's a smaller focus, like you're trying to like condense, or is it like a wide focus in the gut?
It's a focus in the gut that when you bring the energy there and the intention there, it expands. It expands. And it expands literally, limitlessly. It's not trapped within the limitations of the body, but you have to get your attention there, because the mind, it becomes like a surgical instrument that will open that chakra. And then as you breathe there and you keep focused there, it expands. endlessly beyond the limitations of the body. It's like a cosmic lotus flower that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the bigger and the more energy you have inside yourself, the more chi, the more power you have to live your life.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Hi, Stuart.
Yes?
My question was about prayer and what Rudy taught about prayer, and then what you shared also piqued my interest related to it. You said you spent 9 years looking for a teacher. So my question is, that was your prayer, right? Your spirit was praying for a teacher, and then Rudy showed up in your backyard, so to speak. Could you talk about prayer and in that regard?
You know, I'll talk in terms of when I was a young man. Okay, I was 16 years old. My father died, you know, and I went into the hospital, you know, and he was lying in bed, and for 6 days, he was like in a coma, shaking. He didn't know anybody. And I walked into his hospital room, and he was lying in bed in a completely serene, totally, I never saw him in that state of calmness, in that state of being. And I looked into his eyes, I could see a million miles. And I knew nothing about spirituality or meditation or yoga or anything, you know? And the whole room was just full of light. And I said to him, "Do you know me?" And he just shook his head, "Yes." And, you know, I think I got up and I left the room for a few minutes, and I bumped into his nurse. And that woman, God bless her, I don't know where she is today, if she's even alive today, she really changed the course of my life. I said to her, "I don't understand. Tell me, my father is so calm, he's so peaceful. I've never seen him like that." And she said, to her understanding and what she's seen working in the hospitals is that just before people leave the world, they enter this state of complete serenity. And my first thought was, why did my father have to wait 49 years to enter a state of serenity 20 minutes before he's going to die? And I said, there has to be something here I can learn that can enable me to live that way and not have to wait 20 minutes before I die to live that way. I mean, that woman, God bless her, she changed my life. And I threw up everything. I really did. I was a very good basketball player when I was younger. Could have gotten probably scholarships to colleges. I thought I was being a doctor or a lawyer. I had all kinds of professional images about what I wanted to do in my life. And I threw it all up. I started getting all these books on Zen and meditation and Hinduism and Buddhism and even, mystical Christianity and et cetera, et cetera. And I started hanging out in the village and became like a hippie and had all these beatnik friends. And it's a whole different world I was living in. And I knew I had to find somebody who could teach me how to do this, because I knew I was incapable of doing this on my own. And then when I was 21 years old, I went to Europe. And I lived in Paris, I lived in Rome, I lived in Greece, I lived all over the place, Germany, Spain, Morocco. I lived for 4 months in Marrakesh. I spent off and on 5 years using Paris as my base of living. And all of this was about finding a teacher, because every time I went to Europe, I always thought, I'm on my way to India. I need to find somebody who can teach me how to do this. I never made it to India. I made it into a Spanish jail when I was 25 years old, trying to bring keef, into Spain from Morocco. Thank God I spent like 3-4 weeks there, and they let me go. And again, I kissed the floor and I said, Stuart, you have reached the bottom of your life. You have gone to the bottom of your life. And it was kind of prayer, because I'm sitting in this cell and the only book I had was the Bhagavad Gita, which I probably read through 5 times while I was there. And praying and meditating and trying to reach God. And then when I went back to the States, 3 weeks later, I met Rudy. And boy, was I ready to meet Rudy, because I had tried everything. And you're right, it was like a prayer. It was 9 years of praying that I would meet somebody who could teach me. And I went to all kinds of gurus and swamis and rishis and all kinds of people. And I could never connect with anybody. And I walked into Rudy's gallery and bingo, it was like magic. And from that day on, he and I mean, it was like a father-son relationship. We were very, very close. And I said, Stuart, you have found the person in your life who can truly teach you how to get to God. You are not going to blow this. You have blown everything in your life. You're not going to blow this. Whatever you have to do to learn from this person, you will do. It doesn't matter what, you will do. And there was 6 years of that until, this Monday, the day of his samadhi, where I'm in an airplane with him, flying. I mean, I don't know how many of you read that story I wrote called Rudy, I mean, it's like it was like an allegory, it was so strange. And we hit a mountain. And you talk about having to leave a situation with something. And my realization was, Stuart, now you'll find out what the last 6 years were really about. Can you continue to do this inner work? Can you continue, to do this depth of work on yourself, nurture other people, serve God in the world? Rudy is not here to break your ass anymore. You're going to have to let life do it now.
When the student is ready, the master appears.
Yes. I mean, I asked Rudy, I said, what happened that day when I met you? And he said to me, I looked in the window of my store and I saw my son lost in the universe. That's what he told me. I pulled you right in the door. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes, I was a young kid lost in the universe, so desperately in need of a spiritual life that ultimately attracted a master like Rudy.
And I love that you went past his door so many times, but it was only when you were ready.
I lived 15 minutes away from where he had his gallery. I mean, I used to go down to the village almost every day, and I would walk on 7th Avenue South past his store. And I had a friend of mine, maybe 3 years before I met Rudy, maybe 3 or 4 years, who told me he went to Rudy. He said, there's a guy with an antique store there. He was one of the most amazing teachers in New York City. And so I said to him, did you go? He said, yeah, I went to see him, but he wouldn't take me as a student. He wouldn't take me as a student because I was doing drugs. And this young kid was seriously into drugs. He was a very good friend of mine, he's a French kid. And, and there was always that inkling in the back of my mind that there was somebody in this place and I was not ready to meet him until the day I met him. And to this day, I do what I do out of just endless gratitude. It has given me my life. It has made it possible for me to have an amazing life, the world that I've lived in. And I just have endless gratitude. And the only way I can show that gratitude is by serving Rudy, serving God, serving Nityananda, serving these amazing teachers that really had to do with my development. Kala Rinpoche, another one, you know, I met him once. You know, the teachings were so profound. You know, Ramakrishna, who I've never met, and yet he's with me all the time. Ramana Maharshi, same thing. I never met him. He's with me all the time. Sarada Devi. All these amazing teachers that are there to guide us. They are there to guide us, and where they guide us is into the arms of God. And then we have to do whatever it's necessary for us to do here in order to follow that guidance.
Thank you, Stuart.
Take it for granted. I mean, how else could I do that? You know, 7 of these classes a week, you know, at my age, you know, I mean, I'm not a kid anymore, you know? But every time I sit down, the energy is there to do it. Rudy comes, Nityananda comes, other teachers come. I don't even know who they are. They come. And I ask them, give me the energy, give me the strength to do what I have to do in my life at this period of my life. So although I didn't pray, what was going on in those 9 years was an act of prayer that somebody would come to teach me how to get out of hell. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, when Rudy mentioned that he was going to die in a plane crash, was that something someone told him, or was that a premonition that he had? And did he say anything else about it?
He never said he was going to die in a plane crash. He said he was going to be in a plane crash.
Oh.
And he always intimated to me that it was going to be somewhere in the Middle East, and he was going to disappear for a period of time and then manifest, come back into the world again. Never told me I was going to be in the plane with him. But he did tell me this, I don't know how many times, that he was going to be in a plane crash. And never mentioned dying in the plane crash. And it was premonition. I don't think anyone ever told him that. Life was premonition. I mean, he was told by psychics and all these Gurdjieff people that he has to go to New Zealand to study Park Subud, you know, but if he stays in New York, he's going to die in a year. He was told this by all these Gurdjieff people and psychics in New York. So he gave up his business, he gave up everything. And he was on his way to New Zealand to study this, I don't even know what it is, Park Subud. He was going to study. And he went to India, and he was in Bombay, and a friend of his said, no, let's go to Ganesh Puri. You have to meet this Swami there, Swami Nityananda. And he went to Ganesh Puri. And one meeting with Nityananda completely transformed his life. All his plans changed, everything. He went back to New York, started teaching again, opened his business again. You know, I mean, that's how it works. You know, that's really how it works. It's not anything you can plot out in your brain. It's what happens to you and what you do with it when it happens. You take it for granted, then you blow it off, or do you listen? I mean, it happened with Kala Rinpoche and me when I met him. And I said, should I move back to New York? And he said to me, yes, you have to move back to New York. It's 9 o'clock. If you live in New York, your teachings will be known all over the world. And that was really the impetus that made me finally decide to leave Denton, Texas. And it's exactly what happened. Within 3-4 years, I'm teaching all over Europe and South America and the Middle East, all over America. I mean, I was like a freaking octopus, juggling meditation centers, Kathmandu. Chris built an amazing situation in Kathmandu. Memorable. What she did there was extraordinary. Bringing together so many people from different castes, running a safe house for children that were prime victims, that could have been prime victims for the sex trade in India and Nepal. I mean, what she did there was totally amazing. And that was all part of that Kala Rinpoche. Back to your teachings will be known all, and my God, everywhere. And he didn't even know what I taught. I was sitting there doing Rudy's double breathing exercise. And he knew that there were 2 people in his presence that were doing deep spiritual practice. Does anyone, excuse me 1 second. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, all right, then there will be class on Sunday. Wow, it's been quite a session. God bless you all and thank you. And I keep ending this way. I feel like a broken record, but just got to say it. I am so grateful to be here, to be sitting with all of you, to see the depth and quality of the work that you're doing on yourself, which is helping me to grow. So God bless you all. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on Sunday. And Monday we'll have that special class. People say, how do I prepare? Just do your inner work. Come with an open heart. Come to learn. And, I'll see you on Sunday. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart.
Bye.
Nate.